What are some of the biggest skills gaps you're seeing in the field of technology, and what are organizations doing to help bridge those gaps?
Some of that, I mean, think about the tech personnel and then the non-tech personnel. I'll start with the tech personnel. I think the biggest gap for those relates to their understanding of the business itself and understanding what a company is all about. What are its objectives? What are its goals? And as technology has become democratized, as people have said, and whether that started with executives bringing in their iPads and connecting them to networks that they weren't supposed to. There's a good story from McAfee. One of our board members was there at the time, and he said when they opened up their network to these extra devices, they had, I think, 5,000 employees, but they found over 10,000 devices living on the network. So people had brought in all these pieces. So as this democratization of technology has happened within companies where people, marketing departments are making the direct decisions about what kind of marketing automation platforms they're using, whereas that was typically the dominion of IT to choose those platforms. Financial departments choosing the kind of finance software that they want to use, whereas that was formerly the domain. So this idea that you can't just, it's not just coming into someone who is having a problem and say, get out of my way and let me fix it. It's coming in and saying, you know, what's your challenge? Let's work through this. What are you trying to accomplish? What are you trying to achieve? We're dealing with that internally a little bit in our situation where we have our CIO is having to make sure that he's asking the right questions when people are saying, well, I need this piece of data or I need this. It's like, well, tell me more about what you need. Tell me more about why you need these particular pieces so I can figure out the best way to provide it, and maybe I'll be able to augment what you're doing. So to make the IT person more valuable going forward, I think they need to have a better sense of how the business operates, what its goals are, what its objectives are, how the different functions work together. So we're making sure, so we're going to launch a nonprofit academy for learning over the next couple of years here. And one of the core pillars of the job role training programs that we're going to do, in addition to soft skills, in addition to the technical core, is something we're calling business acumen. So that when you come into an organization, when someone says, well, our SEO strategy is this, you'll know what that means. When someone says our assets are this, you'll know what that means. When someone talks about a balance sheet, you'll know what that means. When someone talks about an audit or different things that relate to finance or HR or these different areas. So we're going to do like a little bit more than a business 101 probably, but will help people understand the things that they need that will make them more effective and more engaged on day one. They won't feel like, well, that's that stuff over there, I'm not part of that. They can feel like they're really part of the company and that they understand how it operates. So I think that's particularly true of the tech professional. The gaps for tech professionals, it just gets more challenging every day having to work with so many different systems. In the past, when you bought a platform, you might have bought all HP, or you might have purchased all IBM or all Cisco. Whereas today, it's a wide range of different technologies that come in. You're having to deal with Apple phones and Samsung phones and different Wi-Fi networks and providers and switches and networking and different cloud environments. You might have some stuff in the Azure Microsoft environment. You might have some stuff in the AWS environment. So you have to understand all these different systems. And I think we need a little bit of catch up for people to get to that level, because cloud came on so fast and became so pervasive so quickly that it takes a little bit of time for people to catch up. But I think we're doing a good job with that, of helping people do that with some of the programming that we have. For the non-tech professional, I think it goes back to what I said about the CTOs and CEOs, this point of just start paying more attention to these things. They're not super complicated if you read the right kind of stuff. So don't try to read the stuff which goes into this painstaking detail about it. Read the stories about use cases, how people are using different marketing automation tools, how they're using different financing, how they're using different payment processing applications. Because if you're the one that's initiating a lot of those decisions and purchases, you need to be smart too. So you can't just say, well, I think we need a new payment processing system, then throw it back on your IT team without doing some of your own work. So that's certainly a gap, I think, that exists today, is people getting a good sense on their own of what kinds of tools that they need to drive their business going forward. And there's so many options, so it is overwhelming to go in. And I looked online, the number of cloud-based CRM applications is, you can easily count 2,000 or 3,000 different platforms that exist out there for doing CRM or doing some of these, and how do you possibly wade through all those to find the ones? But whether that you need consulting help, whether it's just a matter of staying more on top of it. So we're doing a program now, we're doing a competition internally called Input, which is, we had 9 different categories of areas across our organization, whether it was how do you better engage your alumni customers, how do you do better on your lead conversion, how is AI going to impact learning. So we have about 9 of these categories that are important to our future business, and we're having teams of staff go out and benchmark against things that other people are doing. So making sure that you're always looking outside yourself for these best ideas, how people are using things, and hopefully, even if we found just a couple across these, it would be fantastic. I mean, it's a great exercise because teams are formed, people are working with people in the organization they might never gotten a chance to work on. They're having to do presentations, they're having to do research, they're having to do this, and we're going to have some nice cash prizes too, so there's some incentive. But companies should be doing that on a routine basis, and in particular, people who are making decisions about technology platforms in the future for their area of responsibility need to be benchmarking themselves against what other people are doing and always bringing in the best thinking. You don't want to get stuck in that group, we used to call it groupthink, where it was what was in that small insular group. It should come from outside of all of that, because there are lots of great examples going at small, medium, and large companies. It doesn't really discriminate by the size of the company relative to their innovation. And some of the best innovations have come from small companies, and that's why big companies like Microsoft and others always snap up the small companies. But even if you're a big company, you should be absolutely looking outside yourself to find those things that other people are doing that might help you meet your goals and objectives.